Hi everyone, this is Laura Lee Collet in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm going to share some tips, techniques, and some stamp sets and cards with you today. I hope all of you had a wonderful 4th of July. I wasn't with you last week because we had internet problems. Cox was working on something in the neighborhood and I was out all day and it's been spotty since. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we'll get through the next half hour or so. Okay, let's move on to our cards. Okay, there we go. Maybe that's a little straighter. I'm not sure if I made it better or worse. There we go. Okay, today I wanted to share the stamp set with you that I made these cards with. It is called Versailles. It's on page 101 of the annual catalog. And it's $23. It doesn't have any dies or anything to go with it, but this is just, I have eyed this and eyed it and wasn't sure if I was going to get it or not. But if you'll look up here, I have a little tab that says this stamp set, etched in nature, is unavailable. Stampin' Up! Sent the demonstrators this as a perk, and we were going to be able to make some samples and everything when the new catalog came out. Well, something went wrong with it and it wasn't printing right, and stamping right, so they pulled it. And any one of the demonstrators that had ordered this got to choose from about 6 stamp sets that they could replace it with. So I picked this one, and it's very vintage. If you like that look, this one is one that you really need to get. It's a distinctive stamp, so everything just stamps beautifully crisp, and I'm just so happy with this stamp set. I'm so glad I got it. So let me show you. This is the card we're going to replicate today. I did not put a greeting on here. I'm going to put the greeting on the inside. And one that I made a few minutes ago to show you, I did put a greeting in. I haven't put the little sparkles on the front, so I'll do that later. But I just wanted to show you how versatile and how different you can make these cards with the same stamp set. Look so different. And this is our petal pink ribbon. I have soft suede with petal pink, and then I used safari as the background instead of a white or a the basic what am I trying to say, the basic vanilla or the basic white. You don't always have to stick with them. You can always use one of your, pale colors to bring that in. And on this card, I didn't even have a neutral on it. I just used the lighter color. And these are our 2 of our 5 in colors, evergreen and soft succulent. And if you can see this, I added a piece of the evergreen ribbon. Then I wrapped around the linen thread and made a little, I don't know why that's on there, made a little double bow out of that. And then I decided at the last minute it needed a pop of color, so I added that little flower, and that's one of our iridescent pearls. And I forgot to mention on this one, we have the clear pearls, or they're not called pearls, they're called epoxy essentials. And they come in both silver and in clear, and they're in different shapes. So there's just a round, a teardrop, I think there's a heart or a diamond shape in there. And that just gives a real subtle little bit of interest for the card. Okay, now, before I forget to mention this, here's our monthly host code for the month of July in red, white, and blue. So when you go to place your order, you can go to stampingatthebirdnest.com, go up to shop, do your shopping, and when you go to check out, you'll see a place to put the host code in. If you have any questions, comments, or need to get in touch with me, there's my email, to bobette@gmail.com. Bobette is my grandmother name. Now, let me show you, here's the stamp set, very Versailles, and you notice there are no flowers here. So I pulled from another set called Forever Blossoms. This is gorgeous. I think, I'm not positive, but I think these are cherry blossoms, and I have made some awesome cards and seen just beautiful cards made with this set. This set is found on page 73 of the annual catalog. Now, there isn't a bundle because they only bundle things the first year they came out. But this is also a distinctive stamp, and there are dies that go with it that are called cherry blossoms, so I was right. So here are the dies. You could get those separately. Okay. Now, moving forward, let's talk about the colors I used. I decided I wanted to use a color that I don't know, for some reason, don't use a lot. And it's the soft sea foam. And then for the leaves, I used Old Olive. For the flowers, Petal Pink, and I stamped in Petal Pink, and I also stamped these in the Pear Pizzazz, which is what I used here. Now, on this card, there are a couple of differences besides just the sentiment being on here. I stamped here in two colors. I used both the Pear Pizzazz, the lighter green, and Old Olive. So you can see the difference that it makes. At first I didn't like it. I thought it was too dark, but I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. Now the other thing that was different was, can you tell how popped up the frame is? Well, I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'm going to start off by taking my seafoam and cutting it at 8.5 by 5.5. You always want to give it a good crisp fold. Take your bone folder and do it so it'll lay flat. Then I took another piece of seafoam that is 4 by 5.25. This is the one that we're going to cut out. Then there's the layer on the inside for the words and the leaves. And I'm going to put this down so I can stamp on that. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp the words on this. I'm going to take this off so you can see it. And it is up and down. So be sure that be sure you don't turn it upside down. I don't know that anybody would really notice, but I would. So be sure that you've got it facing the correct way. And I'm using soft suede. Because it's a larger stamp, I'm turning it upside down to make sure that it's inked real well. And I am just eyeballing, but if you do it on grid paper, it does help, and you can kind of see where you're going to place it. And that ought to do about right there. And you want to be sure that you press in the middle of these bigger stamps so that you can see how it didn't come out quite as well there. But that's okay, because I'm going to do something to fix that. I am going to take this little frou-frou design, and what I'm going to do, instead of stamping at full strength, I'm going to stamp off. In fact, I'm going to stamp off twice, and then I'm just going to put it right there and right there. Now, so see, I fixed my little boo-boo there. Next thing I'm going to do is get my pear pizzazz, and let me clean my stamp right quick. The pear pizzazz I'm going to use for the leaves, and I'm going to stamp before I cut. And we'll see how that comes out, because I did it the other way. On the other two cards, I cut it out and then stamped. Okay. Again, I'm turning this over so that you can make sure it's covered real well. And I'm going to, now remember, this part you're not going to be seeing, so you want to get some over the writing. And again, I'm pressing down real hard in the middle. And I'm going to do it again, just a little bit lower. In fact, I'm going to do it like this. And I'm stamping off, so you see this part of the stamp did not get on the card. And that's another technique, so that works well when you want to have a look like this. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, I cleaned my stamp and didn't need to yet. Okay, let's take a look at our card and see where we stamped. Down the edge, and then we're gonna, so I'm kind of angling it so that it'll point down. And then I'm going to get a little bit more down here. Okay. Now, there are pros and cons of doing it this way. And I'm going to show you when I cut it out. I am using the scalloped contours. I use this in another one of my YouTubes, and each one of the layers has different designs. This has a little polka dot design. This has lines. This is the one we're going to use, and it has little dashes, and all of them have the scalloped edge. And I just took the frames and kind of measured to see, and I didn't think that this one, I thought it was too big and didn't leave enough detail. Then you've got this one with the holes and the scallops that's real cute. So I picked the third from the smallest, and what I'm going to do, in fact, I'm going to get my centering mat made. Shh, Ziggy. Oh, she heard something. And I'm going to place it and use the lines that I've drawn to center this little die on there. And I'm going to get my Post-it stickies or whatever you want to use. You can use washi tape or removable tape. And that looks like it's just about perfect. We'll see once it's cut. Okay. I'm just going to whip this out right quick. Since you've seen me use our cut and emboss machine many times. Okay. Now, this is how it's going to look. So when you use the when you decide about your stamping, you can either do it like I did, then this would be a real cute little card to put in a gift, or you could put it and use it, put a sentiment up here and use it to make another card. Or if you do it before you stamp, then you're going to get just a plain one that you can decorate any way you want. The next thing we're going to do is mount this. And again, you want to kind of center it. But what I'm going to do first, I popped it up. On the first card, I just used dimensionals. On the next card, I wanted it to kind of show a little shadow around it. So I used our foam strips. They are on the page with all of our adhesives. And it takes, they're already pre-cut in long strips. And I used about 1.5 strips. So I'm going to stick that over here. And I'm just going to bend this. Since I had already measured it, I kind of know what the length I need. And I'm just cutting it in half. Now, another thing, I did not put it all the way to the edge. I kind of centered it so that it would be away from the scallops, but not totally on the edge either. And then this one, I can just about cut in half too. Now, the really nice thing is that if this wasn't perfectly straight, when you put it on, you can adjust it a little bit. And let's see how I did. I'm going to peel. It has a little backing on it, just like the dimensionals. And let's see. Okay, I'm looking at my words and trying to get them all in the middle. And let's see. Hey, that's pretty close. If you have on one of the cards I made, it was sticking out a little bit and was showing, so I just took my paper snips and took that off. Okay, because I've already mounted this, it makes it a little more difficult. It's not impossible, but it is a little more difficult to use your stamping seal. So what I'm using is the Tombow liquid glue that we have. And I'm just going to make sure the edges are done and put some in the middle. Now I cut this 1/4 inch, so it's going to be 1/8 of an inch smaller all the way around. And I really like doing tone on tone, using the same paper and the same ink. Now, the next thing we need to do, and I went ahead and punched out, instead of using a die, I stamped my words, and then I went and looked at which dies I had and which punches I had. This is our rectangular postage stamp, and that's what I used to get the little scallops, which I think are real cute for this card. And we're going to put that on there. On the other, this card, I used, let me get the right name, Label Me Fancy. And this one actually has a dot and a little bar there that can be used to thread your, you can stick your, let me show you. You can stick in your paper if you have a tag. And it gives you a little slot. And the same thing for the little dot over there. Now, I went ahead and, just to save time, die cut the 3 flowers and some leaves here. And you could put this wherever you want. You could put it up here if you wanted to. You could put it down here. Let's go up in the top on this one. Now, remember that because you've got this thick foam adhesive strip, you're going to need to double up on your dimensionals to make this level, or else it's going to look like that, okay? So I'm going to take, in fact, I'm going to use my mini dimensionals, which are a little more challenging. But what I'm doing is putting one down, taking the backing off. Come on. And then sticking the other one on top. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Good. Sticking to my finger. And put that there. Get all our little things out of the way. And then I'm going to, well, actually I put those in the wrong spot. You can pull them up sometimes without tearing your paper. Okay, now, and I'm just going to take my stamp and seal and just put a little bit right to hold the top of it. And I'm going to do it like there, because a little bit lower. Because remember, you've got your flowers. So let's see, I think we'll put one there. Maybe 2 there, and 1 here. Okay. And so think about where you want to do them. And what I'm going to do is take my glue dots, or you could use your liquid glue for this. Can you hear Ziggy snoring? She's hilarious. And then when I got 2 of them in the bed, Rod and Ziggy, the other night they were snoring in tandem. One would snore, then the other. Then Rod would snore, then Ziggy would snore. It was hilarious. Okay, so there's that one. And just trying to do it so that it doesn't cover up the words there. And I'm going to put, let me see, should we put, oops, it depends on where you put your glue dot, where you can stick this in. I think I'll do that there and then just put one little leaf here. Okay. Get the glue dots again, and I'm putting one on each leaf just to be sure that it's going to stay put. Come on. Well, that one didn't want to turn loose. These are great. They're so easy to use, and unless they don't want to turn loose. Okay, I'm going to lift the flower up and tuck that right under. And then I'm going to put the last flower on and stick one little leaf by it. Okay, looking good, I think. I hope y'all agree. And I'm going to move this out of the way. Next thing we need to do, you know, I have to have a little bling. So, excuse me, I need a sip of coffee. These are the in color jewels. And I picked the yellow ones, which are the, actually it's called pale papaya. They look yellow, so that's why I use them for the center of the flower. So it can go there, and there, and there. Oops. That one over a little bit. And I could have used a little glue dot there if you want to. Not totally necessary because it's going to stay put. Now, you can always add a little more bling, put a little of the Wink of Stella on the flowers. Totally up to you. And, you know, you could always, I felt like it needed another color just like on this one, but you could just do something similar and just put the one flower. And my artist friend trained me to do things in odd numbers. So we did 3 here, and the next step, of course, would be 5. On the back, let me see if I have mine. Yes. And again, I'm going to do tone on tone with the, if I can find where I put my green. Well, maybe I won't. I'll just do my signature, my hallmark, as I like to call it, and I'm going to stamp off so it's not quite as dark. Normally, I would do it in my the same color, either the seafoam or the green, the pear pizzazz. And this is going to be a anniversary card. I'm late. My sister and brother-in-law's anniversary was on the 1st, and I don't even know what day it is. It's going so fast. But anyway, this is going to be for them, so I put always and forever. And then I'll write a little sweet card, sentiment on the inside. Now, before I let you go, there is one thing that I wanted to show you that I did with another card that I made. Sometimes it is hard to line up the stamped image with the die. So instead of going round and round and round until you finally do it and find the spot where it should be, I marked both my die, which it looks like it's come off a little bit there, with a Sharpie. I just put a little dot. And I also put a little dot right, let me take it off, right here, so that I know when I stamp it and then I come to match my die, I know that that's the petal with the little point on it where I need to place it and then of course adhere it down with some removable tape, and it'll make your life a lot easier, especially if you're making multiple cards or doing multiple flowers like I was here. The last little tip I have for you today is to be sure you get some sort of magnetic sheet that you can have by you when you are using your dies. We have got quite a few of the dies that are itty bitty, much smaller than these, and those suckers can get away from you like that. I had to totally tear up my place over there where I had been cutting because I lost one little tiny die, and I've still got one somewhere on the floor from another set months ago that I never found. So this is a good way to help keep track of them. These are just Hobby Lobby frames that I just stuck a sheet of the magnetic. I got these magnetic plates from Stamp and Storage, and if you're needing some, I have a button on my website, Stampin' at the Bird Nest, where you can order these sheets. You can use them for your dies or for this little project. And the other thing is I left one of these clear, and when I'm working with my stamps, if I take them off my blocks, but I'm not ready to put them back, you know, I'm not through with them yet, I'll stick it on the lucite frame, and that'll help keep things in order and keep you from losing things, because it is so easy to do. I don't know if y'all are neat stampers or kind of messy like me, but I try to clean up between projects, but during, I mean, I've got stuff everywhere. So, until next week at 12, every Thursday at noon, I am here at Central Standard Time or Central Daylight Time, whatever we're having now. So I hope you'll join me again. And I'm in the process of starting to move. So stay tuned to my Facebook page, and I'll let you know if I'm going to have to postpone one of my sessions, but I'll let you know about that, okay? And until we meet again, I love you. See you next time.